And here is Donald Trump on Meet the Press, baby. Let's go. Exclusive NBC. And he's popping off in this. Okay? He's fucking popping off. Oh, shit. Ow. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, chill. God damn. God damn. What is that? Hello? She's so fucking heavy. It's crazy.
President Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
I want to dive right into this. A lot to get to.
Good.
There are a number of things that make your campaign unprecedented. You are the first former president to run for re-election in more than 100 years. You are facing 4 indictments. You have an incredibly significant lead in the GOP primary polls. But I want to ask you this, Mr. President. Why do you want to be president again?
Well, it's a very simple answer, and I can give it very easily. It's called Make America Great Again. Our country is in serious trouble. I don't think we've ever been so low in terms of certainly opinion, world opinion, and country opinion. People are devastated. They look at what's happening with millions of people coming in, millions of illegal immigrants coming into our country, flooding our cities, flooding the countryside. I think the number is going to be 15 million people by the time you end this. By the end of this year, I think the real number is going to be 15 million people. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions, insane asylums. They say, sir, please don't use that term, but it's true. They're terrorists at a level. It was very interesting. On NBC, I saw a poll, and I saw some statistics, and it said in 2019.
Just remember how, what size she was 2-3 months ago.
There were no terrorists. They caught no terrorists. There was nothing that they saw. There was no anything. And now, this year, it's a record number like they've never seen before. So we did a great job at the border. We did a great job with the military. We did a great job with inflation. We had essentially no inflation. We had a great economy. And we didn't have an Afghanistan disaster. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and pride, not the way they got out. That was
nothing better than Donald Trump being able to just take this position where take the position that he is anti-war and he wanted to get out of Afghanistan, which is popular, while simultaneously being I could have done it better. It's no, bitch, you wouldn't have done it at all. You had the shot. You didn't do it. It's crazy.
Surrender and an embarrassment and horrible. We gave $85 billion worth of equipment to the Taliban.
The worst part about this is that the Afghanistan withdrawal was bad. It was always going to be bad in some ways. You can't just leave a country after occupying it for 20 fucking years. But the worst aspects of why it was bad never get covered. It's bad because there's no protection for the people of Afghanistan. It's bad because we took their money and didn't give it. We still haven't given it back to them. It's bad because we're refusing to allow actual NGOs that used to operate in Afghanistan and continue operating in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? All this shit. Those are all the bad things. And except when Donald Trump criticizes it, he's oh, it's bad because we left our weapons. It's no, man, that's not the bad part. That you fucking left behind all this junk that you always leave behind because logistically speaking, it's more expensive and more costly to just ship them back. It's so stupid.
We had death, so much death and so much horrible destruction. And it was a terrible thing. I think it was the lowest point in the history of our country. Now, with all of that, we can change it and we can make America great again. And that's why I'm doing this.
Well, and you have talked about a lot. We are going to delve into a number of issues you brought up. You talked about all the people coming across the border. Of course, a lot of families also coming across the border as well. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about the breaking news today. We learned just a short time ago that the president's son, Hunter Biden, was indicted by a federal grand jury on 3 gun charges. Given that, Mr. President, can you continue to say that there are 2 systems of justice?
Well, I think there's no question about it. He had a plea deal that was
I don't know, dude. I find it pretty bad that USA leaves weapons laying around like an odd sock. Leaving equipment is the least of their worries. It's impossible to maintain without their expertise in the supply chain. Yeah, people talk about it. People talk about leaving weapons behind, like used socks or whatever. And it's really interesting because it's like, dog, you think the American military did not factor this in? You know what I mean? Like, you think the American military was like, oh man, fuck, we just decided to leave these guns behind. Like, no. What are you going to, like, all of that requires a $1 trillion operation to keep it running. And even then, if you know anything about the fucking military, you know that even with the trillions of dollars of funding, especially overseas operations, are constantly fucking up. These guys didn't have support on their armored personnel carriers underneath the fucking cars. And they had like a ton of veterans, a ton of fucking active duty people on tour get their dicks blown off by fucking IEDs until they were like, oh yeah, I guess we have to like do something about that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You agree there was Twitter files, right?
Mr. President.
You agree there were 51 intelligence agents that lied. You agree with that?
I'm not the one who's being interviewed. Let's stay on track because I want to talk about
that's rigging the election.
Because that's what voters.
You just talk about Trump to the point of promoting him, Lamau. It's not that you're pro-Trump. It's that his name tastes so good in your mouth you can't help say it for content. You just talk about Trump to the point of promoting him. I have said time and time again, I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. I can't believe I have to like openly like say something so stupefyingly obvious. Donald Trump is perfect when he is away from power. He's a funny poster. He's sassy. He's bitchy. He's catty. And when he's away from power, he's great. When nobody takes him seriously, or at least only takes him seriously enough to just like hear what he has to say. He's great. He's a content machine. But of course, I, as a Twitch streamer with 25,559 people in his chat, am not physically, spiritually, mentally, figuratively, literally capable of promoting the former president of the United States of America. Like it's just not, like, that's not a thing that can happen. You know what I mean? I hope you understand that. The scumbag leftist sarcasm is sometimes a little much for a rank and file dem. Yeah.
Want to hear about, Mr. President. Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. Speaker McCarthy announced that he was launching an impeachment inquiry this week into President Biden. Do you see this as a part of the retribution that you seek?
No, not at all. I think, look, you look at the terrible things that have been happening with respect to Biden. Look at everything. Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, who are fantastic people and very legitimate people. I watched Jamie Comer just a little while ago talking about a lot of different facets of what's going on. And he was the one that said, I guess there are 12 things where it looks like it's stone cold guilty. And the gun charge is only one of the 12. He said this is the only one that doesn't implicate Joe Biden.
So, but my question for you, did you talk to Speaker McCarthy about this House impeachment inquiry?
No, I don't talk to him.
Tell him that he should open a House
impeachment
inquiry?
No, I don't do that. I don't think he'd do that. I mean, he wouldn't do it based on me, no.
Did you talk to your Republican allies on Capitol Hill and say you should support this?
No, I don't have to talk. They're more proactive than I am. They think it's terrible. I will say this. They think I was treated very unfairly. I mean, when I was impeached for a perfect phone call, and now it turned out to be perfect, I hope you will admit that at least, because I was right, 100% right. But I was impeached for a perfect phone call. And how sad that is. And we had 196-0 vote for Republicans. Very unusual for the Republican Party. I was so proud of them. 196, the entire House, not one person dissented. And then other than Romney, who sort of gave me half a vote, but we had 100% in the Senate. People think I was treated very unfairly.
Well, the people who
I know I was treated.
The people who voted for that impeachment say that the phone call that you referenced was about a quid pro quo.
It was perfect.
But
my phone call was perfect. My phone call was saying, please investigate any crimes that you see. And by the way,
he's so back, dude. Come on. He's fucking back. His phone call was perfect, dude. He's right. Why are y'all chirping? Fucking Most perfect phone call. Okay, get the fuck out of here.
By the way, I'm mandated to do that as the president of the United States. And it was really a call to congratulate him on winning the election. But
what is it? Trump has a point on economy. That's all I said. You make the vote, not me. Trump has a point on the economy. Please, right now, explain to me what tax bracket you're in. Because Trump did not help you at all. Okay? If you think that Trump helped you with like massive tax cuts for corporations and the top 1% of wealth, let me tell you, you're not in that bracket, okay? You got like a $25 money back guarantee, okay? Month over month. And that's gone. It expired already. That was the funniest part about the tax breaks, the tax cuts, was that he ripped the estate tax, okay? He gutted the estate tax further, the death tax for Republicans, okay? And that's the Republican way of talking about the estate tax. He also gave tax cuts to every single tax bracket except the tax brackets outside of the top tax bracket and the corporate tax rate was slated to expire. That's right. The Trump tax cuts were made permanent for the top tax bracket and also the corporations, whereas everyone else's tax cuts, which were already tiny anyway, okay, they have expired. So you're paying more in taxes year over year. You're paying the same amount of taxes you're paying that you did before the Trump tax cuts. Now, right now, every rich person in America says Biden destroyed the economy. Will they profit immensely from his policy and pass the cost of inflation directly to us? These people are ghouls and will act like they are being cheated even when they're winning. Yeah, of course. So that people like I Am Legion 19XX can come in here and say say the exact same things without putting any thought, any care, any consideration into it. Like how was your economic circumstances better? Okay, but people were better off under Trump, though. Inflation has been crazy and things are more expensive than they used to be. I know, but like people always make it seem as though there is no fucking reason for why these things happen or that they happen fucking overnight. Okay? It didn't happen overnight. Like you think Trump's policies did not play a role in inflation getting out of hand after he left the office? Like, what do you think? How do you think this works? Like, you think Joe Biden came into office and was like, I am going to hit the inflation button. And then he was like, oh, Jack, I hit the inflation button again. Why? I'm so old. And it's also not just in the United States of America, but inflation is like global, partially because, again, corporate consolidation exists in every aspect of global capitalism. Okay? And a lot of the same class interests and the same class dynamic is represented in every part of our lives all around the world. During the pandemic, there were supply chain hurdles. There was demand that was, the demand stayed stable or increased for certain goods and certain services. But unfortunately, the supply was diminished. But then, post-pandemic, which obviously the pandemic is still around, but our lifestyles are no longer in like the lockdown pandemic era. Okay. Corporations in non-planned economies in capitalist nations chose to keep the price points as high as possible. And it's like, it's so strange because just look at the fucking profits, man. Even if you are not of the mindset that like this is greedflation that we're experiencing, even if you think that there is a real invisible hand that's guiding the economy and that inflation is like this genuine scientific process, okay? Then take a look at the reasons as to why inflation might still be an issue as I guess payback for, not payback necessarily, but to recoup the extra profits that they could have made during the pandemic. Anyway, let's continue.
Mr. President, let's...
No, when you talk about quid pro quo, please don't talk about quid pro quo, because there was none in the call at all. Where there's
That
a
was
quid
the
pro,
heart-
where
what I'm
there
saying
is
is
a
that was
quid
the heart
pro
of
quo
that impeachment.
was when Biden said very strongly, we're not going to give them the $1 billion unless they get rid of the prosecutor. That's
Yeah, they did. So that's a really interesting take from Donald Trump, because Biden didn't do that in a private conversation that he didn't think that everyone would hear. He did it in broad daylight. Now, do you guys know why Biden did that in broad daylight? Like, openly went to Ukraine and said, we're going to withhold aid. Well, not necessarily aid, but loans. Because he doesn't have the fucking power single-handedly to do that as the vice president, because the World Bank and the IMF wanted the fucking prosecutor removed, okay? It was not specifically because Biden was like, oh, give me some information about my possible political opponent coming up in the next election, Jack. No, he was like, fire Viktor Shokin, he's corrupt. That's it. He said, fire Viktor Shokin, he's corrupt. This is not just my opinion. This is the opinion of the IMF and the World Bank. They're not going to give you loans anymore. Okay? That's it. And not only that, but also Republicans in fucking Congress were also advocating for that. There was a bipartisan letter signed, as we saw in 2016, I think.
a quid pro quo.
Mr. President, let me take a step back here, because a lot of voters say what they want to talk about right now is your vision for the future.
Sure.
And I've been traveling to a lot of the early voting states, and they say that your focus on the past is a problem for them. What do you say to those voters?
I have no focus on the past, except that you have to learn from history. You have to learn from the past. We had an election that was very, very terrible. It was a terrible thing for our country. And you have to learn from that. You can't forget that and just go. Now, with all of the things that we said, I had the best economy maybe in history.
We're going to talk about it next.
Right.
So let's stay
I had the best economy in history, and I'm going to do it again.
He's like, we can't keep focusing on the past. I had the best economy in history. You got to learn from that.
Again, I had the best energy. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. Now we're begging for energy. I mean, what they've done to this country, they're destroying our country.
We're going to talk about the economy in just a minute. But before we move on from Capitol Hill, do you think Republican hardliners should abandon their threat to shut down the government over their spending priorities now that there is this impeachment?
No, I think if they don't get a fair deal, we have to save our country. We have $35 trillion in debt. We have to save our country.
So you would shut down the government? You'd support that?
I'd shut down the government if they can't make an appropriate deal. Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the economy.
No, the fuck he wouldn't. You would never do that if you were president. That's so stupid. Like, no president would be like, yeah, I'll own it. I'll take the L. Get the fuck out of here.
And I want to start by talking about this big standoff between the auto workers and the big three auto manufacturers. Yeah. My question for you, Mr. President, whose side are you on in this?
I'm on the side of making our country great. The auto workers are not going to have any jobs when you come right down to it, because if you take a look at what they're doing with electric cars are going to be made in China. The auto workers are not going to have any. I'll tell you what, the auto workers are being sold down the river by their leadership, and their leadership should endorse Trump. The reason is, you got to have choice. Like in school, I want school choice. I also want choice for cars. If somebody wants gasoline, if somebody wants all electric, they can do whatever they want. But they're destroying the consumer, and they're destroying the auto workers. The auto workers will not have any jobs, Kristen, because all of these cars are going to be made in China. The electric cars automatically are going to be made in China.
So let's talk about UAW's leadership.
So this is his pivot. Listen. This is an important pivot because, like, we watched Tim Scott try to talk about the labor union activity happening at UAW Big Three auto manufacturers right now, and he literally was like, I mean, I don't know why I'm doing a Trump voice. He basically fucking was like, nobody wants to work anymore, okay? That is not a good take. But Trump is a Republican, so he can't openly be like super fucking pro-union, right? Like, but he also is a populist, so he has to be pro-union. Like, he has to be pro-labor force while simultaneously not saying that he's like pro-union, pro-labor force. These big three need to cave to the fucking demands that the union is making. You can't say that as a Republican. So he's in this like weird bind. Okay. When you look at like the actual normal Republicans, they just straight up will be like, yeah, fuck these unions. Okay. Like they're pieces of shit. That's a holdover from the old Republican, the old Republican party. Donald Trump has never been pro-labor in his own personal life, in his private affairs. Donald Trump is a notorious fucker over of contractors, okay? Obviously, he doesn't like labor. He's never been pro-labor. You're the biggest fucking idiot if you think that Donald Trump has ever been pro-labor. My point is, Trump got 48% of rank and file union votes in 2020. Is that true? It's not surprising, but he said some very important things that made him. Oh my God. Rank and file union members snub Biden for Trump. And unions, especially building trade support for president, remains solid despite the efforts of labor leaders to convince members otherwise. Okay, this is. Okay, give me numbers. Where union voters have a sizable impact, roughly 1 in 6 voters nationwide is either a union member or comes from a union household. God, America is so stupid. I guess police unions are a part of this number, maybe. If that's the case, then that makes sense. Among members of the North America's building trades unions, there is a dead heat in swing states, with Biden receiving 48% of the vote and Trump 47%. I work at a heavy equipment dealer with a unionized shop, and I can guarantee 85% voted for Trump. I mean, I've talked about this before. I'm in the carpenters union, and I'm the only person I know at work who voted for Biden. I fucking love that, dude. I fucking love that. Hell yeah, baby. Oh, God, we are the dumbest fucking country on the planet, dude. So I think the exit polls show a different reality. A household with a union member, 57% voted for Joe Biden. A household without a union member, 51% voted for Joe Biden. So 57% of households with a union member voted for Joseph Robinette Biden over Donald Trump. Now, of course, that means like not just the rank and file, but also the son or daughter or the wife of a union member or the husband of a union member. So like blue collar doesn't vote for Biden. That's not true. Stop. This narrative is so stupid. One, the American labor force is only 10% unionized, okay? 10% union participation in the overall American labor force. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the actual income, if you actually look at how this works, okay, on the income front, you're wrong. The notion that the notion that like wealthy people vote for the Democrats and like working class people vote for the Republicans is the wrong one. It's a false notion, okay? That's not the case. Poor people still vote in the direction of the Democratic Party. Rich people still vote in the direction of the Republican Party. Okay? The fantasy that Republicans have created so successfully is this like ridiculous notion that the Republican Party is actually pro-labor, they do this like populist bullshit, and they act like they are actually in support, or they get a lot of union support or labor support from the working class. Is bullshit. That's not real. It's not real. Just like the working class is not just fucking white working class people. Okay? That's just so stupid. It's dumb. The working class is very diverse because America is very diverse, okay? There's trans people in the working class. There's black people in the working class. There's women in the working class. There's gay people in the working class. It's so fucking dumb to fantasize about this mythological white guy who's working a fucking rugged-ass job, okay, in the construction yards or whatever. It's so dumb. It's made up. It's a made-up fantasy cooked up by Yale debate society perverts that literally fucking have never had any real proximity. They would spit on the construction workers if they could, okay? Like, it's literally dumbass fucking Yale graduate perverts that make up this fantasy, and every other dumbass fucking believes it.
President Sean Fain has withheld his endorsement of President Biden. But this is what he had to say about you. Quote, another Donald Trump presidency would be a disaster. How would you win that endorsement?
Well, if that's the case, I probably won't win his. I don't know the gentleman, but I know his name very well. And I think he's not doing a good job in representing his union, because he's not going to have a union in 3 years from now. Those jobs are all going to be gone because all of those electric.
See, that's literally fucking, it's over. It's Jover. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. Play this line in any fucking Michigan shop, dude. Get the fuck out of here, okay?
Cars are going to be made in China. That's what's happening. Number one. Number two, the electric cars are much more expensive and they don't go far enough. So if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long, just like the trucks, if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long ride, let's go to Maine or let's go to Kentucky from New York. You can't do it. I mean, you have to stop all the time. They don't go far enough. They're very expensive. They have a lot of drawbacks. Now, with that being said, some people are going to want them. Some people are going to travel.
No, I think they mean RBN, Sabby Sabs. I have no idea who the fuck
short
that
distances. What they're doing with our trucking industry is a disaster because they want all electric trucks. And a truck on with a large tank, large gasoline or diesel capacity can go up to 2,000 miles. An electric truck goes 300 miles. So what are these guys going to do? They're going to stop every 300 miles and recharge their truck and spend 3 hours?
Let's move on and talk about another big picture issue when it comes to the economy. The issue of interest rates, inflation, something that you've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is obviously independent, but I wonder, Mr. President, if you are re-elected, would you direct your Federal Reserve chair to lower interest rates?
Well, you know that I put a lot of pressure on him. It was outside pressure because nobody knows whether or not you can really do that. But I did because I thought his interest rates were too high, and he ultimately dropped his interest rates. The same gentleman, as you know. But it was a lot of pressure. I mean, I was very active on that. Right now, interest rates are very high. They're too high. People can't buy homes. They can't do anything. I mean, they can't borrow money. The banks don't have the money. The banks aren't lending the money. The banks, by the way, Chase Manhattan Bank, Bank of America, they discriminate against conservatives. It's a disgrace, and they
the real banking discrimination is happening against conservatives, okay? Yeah. Not black people, not the Latin population.
shouldn't be allowed to, and I'm going to do something about that. But you take a look at banks throughout the country, and I think because of the regulators.
One thing that I love, that I wish the Democrats would do more of, is like, just say you're going to do government intervention. Like, this is something that you have to recognize with Donald Trump. He says he is going to do government intervention. Yeah, too, Mom. Trump openly fucking says all the time that he is just going to do government intervention. Now, is he going to actually do it? Fuck no. Of course he's not going to do it. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, is too stupid to realize that you're not supposed to use government intervention to actually, hurt the bottom line of corporations, because America is supposed to be pro-corporations. But, like, he does such a good job of just saying he's going to do it. Like, it's great. It's great. Like, yeah, I'm going to go after banks. I'm going to regulate banks. Oh, so sick. It's so sick. I'm going to go after the banks because they're discriminating against conservatives, okay? It's awesome. Why doesn't Brandon do it? I wish Brandon would do it. I wish Brandon would actually do it, for the record. I wish he would actually regulate.
But you take a look at Bank of America and Chase. They discriminate against conservatives and Republicans.
Evidence for that, Mr. President?
Oh, we'll give you plenty of evidence.
Okay, all right. Well, let's stay on track with this question.
He said, we'll give you plenty of evidence to that. That means, in Trump terms, that means no evidence, okay?
So just to be very clear, if you were reelected, would you direct your Fed chair to lower interest rates?
Depends. It depends.
You
Depends
might.
where inflation is. But I would get inflation down, because drill we must. We will be drilling for oil. We are going to become, again, energy independent. We are going to reduce our debt, because we're also going to become energy dominant. We were ready to go dominant within a matter of months we would have been making so much money. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country, Saudi Arabia, Russia. And there's no country with more, and it's sweet. It's the finest. We have the best. You know, we're taking it from Venezuela. You know what it is? Tar. It's the worst.
Mr. President, are you going to appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well,
Actual truth about oil. I mean, the best is Saudi liquid gold. Like, I don't think America's like crude oil is as good as Saudi Arabia. That's like kind of the reason why we love Saudi Arabia, don't we, folks?
I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that. So we'll see. But,
okay. All right.
You know the word jaw.
Yeah, Saudi oil is easy to get. American oil, not as easy.
Jawboning. I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had
what the fuck is he saying?
Or something like.
Appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well, I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that. So we'll see. But,
okay. All right.
You know the word jawboning? I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had low interest rates. We had the best housing market ever. We had people buying homes. Today, people can't buy homes.
Economists are looking at some of the figures right now. The fact that the unemployment rate is at 3.8%.
And he's a net exporter of oil, but they're also cutting production to prop up prices in cooperation with OPEC Plus. Yet more price fixing is caused by the de facto oligopoly. I mean, Brandon couldn't even get them to fucking increase oil output, like oil production, during the OPEC situation as a way to counter against like OPEC, the cartel.
We are going to get to the war in Ukraine, but first I do want to talk about the issue of abortion, which is important to a lot of voters all across the country. Just this week, women in Idaho and Tennessee, I don't know if you saw this, filed suit against their state saying their lives were put at risk after they were denied abortion services because their state's restrictive laws put in place after Roe was overturned. So my question for you, Mr. President, is how is it acceptable in America that women's lives are at risk, doctors are being forced to turn away patients in need, or risk breaking the law?
Ready? A little bit of a long answer. I hope you have time.
I hope you have time. Okay. I'm here for as long as you have.
Roe v. Wade. For 52 years, people, including Democrats, wanted it to go back to states so that states could make the right. Roe v. Wade,
I'm going to die. Democrats wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade to allow states to make decisions on abortion is the best. Oh, I love that. God, that's such a stupid argument. It's such a big bind for Donald Trump. Like, there's nothing he can do in this situation.
I did something that nobody thought was possible, and Roe v. Wade was terminated, was put back to the states. Now, people, pro-lifers, have the right to negotiate for the first time. They had no rights at all. Because the radical people on this are really the people, the Democrats, that say after 5 months, 6 months...
Wait, I don't get it. So are you saying you made it easy? Wait, even that doesn't make sense. Because now he's saying he gave Democrats the power to fucking make abortion like totally permissible at 9 months and change. He's like, you know, Democrats wanted abortion at 10 months, folks. They wanted abortion after birth. I gave it to them. That's what they wanted. Believe me.
7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and even after birth, you're allowed to terminate the baby.
Democrats aren't saying that. I just have to. Democrats are not saying that.
Of course
That's
they do.
Not true.
You have a Virginia governor, previous governor, who said after the baby is born, you will make a determination, and if you want, you will kill that baby. The baby is now born.
Democrats writ large are not talking about that. Only 1% of late-term abortions happen in always in the state of
They are
crisis.
the radical people because nobody wants to see abortion after 5 months and 6 months and 7 months. And now it's going to, it gave people that believe.
No, that's poor showing. That's poor showmanship from MSNBC. And normally I would say their incompetence is by design, but this is not an issue that they need to be incompetent on because It's a deeply unpopular one. No, you have to be better. You have to be better at countering this. No, sorry. You have to demonstrate competence in this situation. There is no material reason for you not to. Normally, I would say, they're deliberately, by design, not offering pushback. She's just doing a bad fucking job here. And I think the counter in this situation is, I know people in the chat are saying, oh, I'm surprised she even delivered any pushback at all. I know. Okay? I know that we have low expectations. I get it. But this is one area where, no, especially as a woman too, you literally could have easily been like, what are you talking about? What you're saying is incorrect. It's simply incorrect, okay? The governor you're pointing to is not like, that's not a real quote from the governor. Infanticide, like murdering a child, is what you're describing. It's illegal in every state of the United States of America, okay? You have to be very clear. She was like, oh, that's only 1%, and it only happens, where, there's like issues, health complications. It's like, no, be clear. That quote is not real. It's not a real quote. You're just lying. You're lying right now. You Weasley little liar.
And pro-life, look, just so you understand, it's pretty much 50-50. It's a 50-50 issue. Amazing. If you look at the charts, it's been 49-51. It's been like that for many years. Goes both ways.
No, it's not!
51, both ways. Ready? I was able to do something which gave at least pro-life people a voice. Now it's going to work out. Now, the number of months
No, it's not! Fuck! It's not! That's why you can't even fucking stand on top of a fucking mountaintop and be like, I did this. Because if it was 50-50 and you know how to read the fucking room, you would not be pussyfooting around it. Like, oh, I just gave people the right to choose. That's what I did. I'm pro-choice. Fuck you. You know this shit's unpopular. You fucking know it. That's why you're trying to triangulate around it. Because on the one hand, you want to fucking claim ownership over this thing, but you, just like everybody else that, follows this shit, recognizes the pain that it fucking caused for a tiny, minuscule percentage of the Republican voter base. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. I hate that she's not saying that, though. 50-50 my ass. Suck my fucking cock. Are you out of your fucking mind? 50-50 what? This issue has never been 50-50. It's not even 50-50 in red states, okay? Republicans get abortions too. If it was 50-50, Trump would be fucking literally taking his dick out and waving it, okay? And he wouldn't even... I hate the media so much. I hate the media more than I hate Donald Trump in this regard because they are the fucking demon, pedophile, vampire, interdimensional pieces of shit that have continued this it's a contentious debate narrative when there's no contention. None whatsoever. Fuck you. It's so fucking annoying. You watch NPR, you watch the New York Times, they're always like, we asked the Family Crisis Pregnancy Kidnapping Center of Mormons what they think. Here is a guy who makes $250,000 representing the Pro-Pedophilia Only for Catholicism Institute. And it's like, why? Why are you asking him this? His job is to go on NPR and act like this is a divisive issue when it's not a fucking divisive issue. Fuck you. Suck my fucking cock. There is not a single fucking place in the United States of America where being anti-abortion is a popular fucking idea. It's not the case. They're fucking lying. Jesus Christ, dude. It's like the most deliberate form of propaganda, the endless need to make it seem like this is a divisive issue when it's not a divisive issue.
Can you
and you're going to have something where everybody comes together.
Does it bother?
No. Hold him to account. He said 50-50. Ask him why, if it's 50-50, that he's like tiptoeing around his major accomplishment. Fucking hell, dude. Hey, fuck this.
That women say their lives are being put at risk. Do you feel you bear any responsibility? Because as you say, you are responsible.
What's going to happen, this is an issue that's been going on for a long time, and it's a very polarizing issue. Because of what's been done and because of the fact we brought it back to the states, we're going to have people come together on this issue. They're going to determine the time because nobody wants to see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Nobody wants to see abortions when you have a baby in the womb. I said with Hillary Clinton when we had the debate, I made a statement.
Yeah.
Rip the baby.
Exactly. Nobody wants to see abortions is the real fucking take, okay? If abortion is murder, murder is murder. There is no like, oh, well, it's murder only after 5 months or whatever. Fuck you. 90% of abortions happen at the first trimester, okay? They happen at the first trimester in every fucking state. It happens at the first goddamn trimester. Suck my fucking cock. You made it literally illegal. You allowed states to decriminalize abortion. And by the way, not only did states you allowed states to criminalize abortion, sorry. Not only did they do that, but also in states where it was put on the ballot, like in fucking Kentucky, okay, the people overwhelmingly voted in support of abortion access. And yet, Daniel Cameron, Mitch McConnell's very own attorney general, still chose to prosecute abortions as though it's criminal. It's fucking insane. It happened in Kansas. It happened in Kentucky. It happened all around the fucking country. Because Americans are pro allowing people the right to choose, okay? It's bullshit, dude. No, it's fucking bullshit.
Be out of the womb in the 9th month. You're allowed to do that, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Again, no one is arguing for that. That's not a part of anyone's platform, Mr. President.
The Democrats are able to kill the baby after birth.
Let me talk to you.
Nobody wants that.
Democrats don't want that
so
either.
We're going to come together.
I want to know what you...
I want to do a post-mortem version on someone that is, you know... Anyway, I'm not going to say anything further. Okay, I'm back in it. Now I can't even fucking laugh at Donald Trump. I'm so pissed off. I hate this shit so much. This is like... Oh, it's so frustrating. Just fucking say he's lying, okay? Say he's lying. Meet the press, okay? Meet it. Meet the press. It's not meet the president's dick in your fucking mouth, okay? It's meet the press. Be the press. Do the press thing, okay? Press him. It's so fucking frustrating, dude. What are you doing? I hate it. This is so unimaginably nutty because it's such a black and white issue in a sea of contradictions where there is never something so clear cut. Okay? Americans are fucking stupid. We can't agree on anything. This is the one issue that we fucking agree on. Fuck.
You want. I want to know what you're going to do if you're
reelected. We are going to come
together. Would you sign
together.
federal legislation that would ban abortion at 15 weeks?
No. Let me just tell you what I do. I'm going to come together with all groups, and we're going to have something that's acceptable. Right now, to my way of thinking, the Democrats are the radicals. Because after 4 and 5 and 6 months, but you have to say this, after birth. You have New York State and other places that pass legislation where you're allowed to kill the baby after birth.
Mr. President, I want to give voters who are going to be weighing in on this election a very clear sense of where you stand on this.
I think they're all going to like me. I think both sides are going to like me.
What's
going to have to happen is you're going to have to...
By the way, this is him literally trying to argue like he did last time. This is how he won last time. So it's like classic. He's doing the same thing. This is MAGA 2.0. Okay? It's over. You were the president. Your decisions and your actions and your appointments created the new environment that we're in. And he's still like, oh no, Democrats want to kill the baby. They want to kill the baby. They want to kill the baby. It's like, dog, we moved beyond that. We're doing ectopic pregnancies or killing the fucking carrier, okay? That's where we're at. What's really sad for the Republican Party's state of affairs, okay? Let me tell you something. What's really sad about the situation is that this is the best messaging they have. It only gets worse. It only gets worse from this point on. Donald Trump tries to say, oh, well, we need to have a conversation, states' rights. And he tries to hand wave away the abortion conversation. The rest of them, with the exception of Nikki Haley, literally either have implemented really strict regulation in their states like Ron DeSantis, or Mike Pence, who advocates for a federal ban on abortion. So it goes way worse than this. At least on the messaging front, Donald Trump is the only one who's like recognizing, other than Nikki Haley, that this is a major problem for the Republican Party's future. Okay? But it's only a major problem if the liberal institutional Democrats and the liberal media, mainstream media, actually fucking hold them accountable. If you let them hand wave away and go, oh, well, you know, Democrats want to kill the baby, like shit like that. If you don't shove that fucking rhetoric back down his gullet, then what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? You're not doing your job, and you're misinforming the American public. It's so fucking annoying.
This question,
Listen,
please.
You're asking me a question. What's going to happen is you're going to come up with a number of weeks or months. You're going to come up with a number that's going to make people happy, because 92% of the Democrats don't want to see abortion after a certain period of time.
If a federal ban landed on your desk, if you were reelected, would you sign it at 15
Are you
weeks?
talking about a complete ban?
A ban at 15 weeks?
Well, people are starting to think of 15 weeks. That seems to be a number that people are talking about right now.
Would you sign that?
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something, and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years.
Look at that. One, there was already peace on the issue. So that part is a lie. But remember, look at him trying to fucking triangulate. That's why I have the Edimentum tweet. He's moderating for the general election. That is precisely what's going on. Okay? That's what he's doing. I told you that he was going to do this. I told you that he had always had a very interesting answer for the abortion question, because he has to, because he knows it's very fucking unpopular. Because, as Jimberly Esquire is correctly pointing out, abortions are healthcare. Abortions keep women from dying. Abortions keep fetuses from suffering. Abortions keep mothers from having to watch a baby die in their arms. It is fucking insane that this is not seen as like a medical necessity or a medical procedure that women should be able to get when they need to, when they choose to do so, and instead a hot button political conversation. It's so fucking dumb. And not only is it so fucking dumb that in spite of the media's deliberate attempts at trying to turn this into a divisive issue, it's not. Republican women get abortions. It's not. It's not divisive. Because if it was a fucking democratically voted on process, all of these fucking ballot measures would not be unironically driving more people out to go out and vote in special elections, dog. People hate voting in America. They don't believe in their fucking government. The one time they vote is to literally defend their fucking civil liberties. And when they're given an opportunity to defend their civil liberties, they're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go out and vote. I have to do this now. Like, I don't give a shit, but I have to go out and vote. And then they do. And so much so, and they do it in such a fucking obvious way that now they're trying to fucking take off the abortion They're trying to take off the abortion restriction or abortion access provisions from fucking ballot measures all around the country because the Republican Party is comprised of terrorists, okay? They are psychopathic, bloodthirsty terrorists who have no interest in democracy. And if you literally think that they are even remotely interested in democracy, at least the Democrats that don't like democracy posture like they care about democracy. Neither side cares. It's bourgeois democracy. But at least one side fucking postures like they give a shit. The other side literally tells you it's not a democracy. Shut the fuck up. If you are still at this point like trying to advocate for the Republican Party, I don't know what to do to you. I don't know what to say to you. You are the biggest fucking baboon on the planet. And the worst part about it is that liberals do a horrible job at even fucking defending it. Democrats are so bad. They can't even turn around and make like propaganda off of something that they're supposed to.
I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't. I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake. But we'll come up with a number. But at the same time, Democrats won't be able to go out in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months and allow an abortion. And Kristen, you have to look at this because you said no.
He's right.
You have some states.
He's right. He said what DeSantis is a terrible job. Now that's great because on the one hand, he can say that now because it gets the shit on Ron DeSantis. And on the other hand, he can literally look like the moderate, reasonable one in comparison to Ron DeSantis.
States that are allowed to kill the child after birth, and you can't allow that.
But, Mr. President, again, no one is calling for a child to be killed after birth. No one's calling for that.
But you have legislation.
But let me just ask you.
Kristen, you have legislation in certain states where it's allowed.
Mr. President.
The governor of Virginia, previous governor.
It's illegal in every state. It's illegal in every state. It's illegal in every state. It's bullshit. It is illegal in every state. It's called murder and it's illegal. He's not right. This is not a correct statement. What the fuck is happening, dude? You can't just fucking make shit up. He's making shit up on television. Pregnancy terminations on the third trimester only happen to non-viable fetuses that have severe complications for the carrier. What he's describing is what the current medical process is for a non-viable fetus. But once again, Americans are so fucking stupid that we turn around and we look at a medical process and someone describes it with gruesome terms because that's what medicine really is. In a lot of instances, medicine is gruesome if you describe it. Okay? Describe to someone how open heart surgery works and like these goddamn idiots would fucking want to ban that too. Okay? Like imagine you're breaking through someone's rib cage. You're cutting their skin. You're moving their fucking fat around. You're breaking their goddamn rib cage, okay? Specifically so you can arrive at their fucking heart, which you are going to make careful incisions with, okay? Inside of. Like, think about that. We're mutilating somebody like that, right? Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. If society operated on the boundaries of what the dumbest person thinks is gross and scary, we would have no fucking medicine. We need to ban doctors, brother. What the fuck are they doing? And honestly, that's where we're moving towards right now. That is the direction that we're heading towards, honestly. So it's great. It's going to get to a point where it's like only rich people, like the mega wealthy in like certain enclaves are going to be able to fucking get any kind of medicine whatsoever. Now, we're already there with paywalling healthcare, obviously, but like they're going to make it illegal. If you're a working class person, it's illegal for you to even see a doctor, okay?
Who was a whack job. I call him the Michael Jackson governor.
No one's talking about that governor, as a part of their platform. I want to know what
that governor said you can kill the baby after birth.
But, Mr. President, this is about what you would do if you were reelected. As you know, you upset
We will agree to a number.
Yeah, if he's a fucking pediatric surgeon, by the way. I didn't know that. He's a pediatric neurologist. Trump should be like, well, he's a pediatric neurologist. He's touched baby dicks. Arrest them. You know what they're doing, folks, in pediatric surgery? They're touching your children. That's right. Think about it. He's opening up and mutilating your child. He's mutilating your child in the brain, directly going into his brain and changing his thoughts. Your naked child, he's touching him. And then he derives profit. He gets profit out of touching your child and touching his brain, putting his hands all over your child's brain.
Number of weeks, which will be where both sides will be happy. We have to bring the country together on this issue.
Mr. President, when you talk about negotiating, I think a lot of people think to themselves, this is an issue that they care about deeply in their hearts. They know where they stand, and they want to know where you stand. As you know, some anti-abortion groups are really looking for some clarity from you. So let me just ask you to put a fine point on this. Should the federal government impose any abortion restrictions, or should it be completely left up to the states?
No, I don't think you should be allowed to have abortions well into a pregnancy.
But what about the question I just asked you?
No, we're going to agree to a number of weeks or months or however you want to define it. And both sides are going to come together, and both sides, and this is a big statement, both sides will come together, and for the first time in 52 years, you'll have an issue that we can put behind us.
At the federal level?
Bro, that's such a crazy take, because it's like, if this was such a contentious issue where there are two different sides of this debate, then like Amy Covid Barrett wouldn't have had to lie in a congressional hearing. And Brett Kavanaugh wouldn't have had to lie in a congressional hearing that they will not overturn Roe v. Wade. Like, why did they choose to lie about it then? And said they were like, oh, this is all settled. We're not touching that. I don't get it. I thought it was settled. I thought it was not, you know. I thought it was so contentious that Amy Covid Barrett was like, oh, we'll never touch it.
It could be state or it could be federal. I don't frankly care.
So you're not committed to a ban at the federal level?
I will say this. Everybody, including the great legal scholars, love the idea of Roe v. Wade terminated so it be brought back to the states.
It sounds like that's what you think, too, that it should remain a state issue.
I would say this. From a pure standpoint, from a legal standpoint, I think it's probably better, but I can live with it either way. It's much more important. The number of weeks is much more important. But something will happen with the number of weeks, the amount of time.
He doesn't look strong on this, though, which is kind of interesting, because being non-committal to the thing that you did while simultaneously, trying to, I think being non-committal to the thing that you literally helped accomplish is going to look weak on both ends, I think. Like for the anti-abortion crowd, the pro-lifers, they're going to look at this and go like, what is he trying to say? We want a fucking federal ban. Fuck you. And to the pro-choice crowd, he's already the devil, so I don't think they're going to think he's like actually fucking in support of like reasonable legislation.
After which you can't do it. And you know what? The most powerful people that are anti-abortion are okay with that now. And you know what? They weren't okay with that even a year ago.
Your former Vice President, Mike Pence, believes that a fetus should have constitutional rights. Do you believe that, Mr. President?
Mike Pence said something about 15 weeks, too, which was a big change for Mike Pence because Mike Pence had no exceptions. I have exceptions, by the way. I think people should have exceptions. I think if it's rape or incest or the life of the mother, I think you have to have exceptions.
Does a fetus have constitutional rights, Mr. President?
And a lot of people, when they don't have exceptions. Now, I will tell you that I think most people, most Republicans are willing. You go life of the mother, rape, incest. I think most of them are there.
But should a fetus have constitutional rights, Mr. President?
Well, I don't know.
I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Bro, if this sticks and people are just like repeating that Trump actually just wanted an argument, he just wanted a discussion around abortion, and like Republicans start championing this, I will die. I will cease to exist. because I will go for a service weapon. You know what I mean? Like I like the first one that I land my eyes on, okay? I will perish. Like, this is such a fucking stupid, exceptionally stupid fucking argument to make. Oh my God. Oh my Lord.
I don't know what he's saying, because before he wanted, you couldn't have abortion.
But what are you saying?
Now all of a
What do
sudden,
you think?
excuse me, now all of a sudden he's saying 15 weeks. I said, wow, where did that come from? That's a radical change. Look, something is going to happen.
Look how much certainty he has when speaking out against further restrictions on abortion. Like, he literally is like, no, that's crazy. But when asked, like, okay, what's your point? Why did you do this? He's like, oh, well, I didn't do it. I wanted a conversation around it. It's like, it was 50-50. It's like, no, it wasn't. Fuck you. And if you thought it was 50-50, you'd be defending it. Your support is like always been, your approval rating was always 30%. You made it seem like it was 100%. You know what I mean? It would never stop.
That's going to be good for everybody. And that's what I'm almost like a mediator in this case. They wanted Roe v. Wade terminated because it was inappropriate. We got it done. Something's going to happen. It's going to be a number of weeks. Something's going to happen where both sides are going to be able to come together. And then we'll be able to go into other things like the economy, our military.
Are you saying a federal ban with exceptions? Is that what you're saying?
What I say is very simple, because you can't put words in my mouth like that.
I
because
just
you've been
want to
hearing me talk
understand.
about this issue,
Yeah.
and I think talk about it very productively. It could be a state ban. It could be a federal ban. But
Yeah, this is real bad for him. Like, real bad. Actually, unironically, real bad. It's just like, it was going to be bad for everybody. And I've been wondering what his, like, counter was going to be, because he's the guy who is the best at reading the fucking room. And sometimes you can be good at reading the room, but the room is still booing at you. You know what I mean? He's stuck in a fucking bind, you know? With not much to do. How much do the evangelicals care? Brother, you think evangelicals are enough to make you president? If that was the case, Trump would have been president. Outside of, like, super fucking Christian fundamentalists, which make up 30% of the population, 25% to 30% of the population, no one in the United States of America is like, yeah, you should literally not let people get abortions. Like, we should criminalize it. No one. It's not a real thing. Think about it this way, okay? Abortion in general happens in the first trimester, especially so, right? Do you know that many people that are like, no, abortion is murder, actually, across the board? And if you know that many people, like, have you ever had conversations with them where they, like, explain their fucking opinions? Now think about how many people you know that literally think, like, no, fucking let people get abortions. Like, shut the fuck up. You say, yes, my entire family, but statistically speaking, it is significantly less likely to come up with a person that is anti-abortion, even in red states, and it is pro-abortion. Not even in the state of Florida. You're wrong. People are saying state of Florida. That's not true. No. Absolutely not. You have to be in a hyper-religious fucking space in order for people to have this kind of take on abortion. It's not represented by the public. It has never been represented by the public. Republicans still get abortions. Like, it's just fucking nuts.
Democrats want that too. Democrats don't want to see abortion in the 7th month. Okay, I speak to a lot of Democrats. They want a number. There is a number, and there's a number that's going to be agreed to. And Republicans should go out and say the following, because I think the Republicans speak very inarticulately about this subject. I watch some of them. without the exceptions, et cetera, et cetera. I said,
yeah, without the exception of fucking Nikki Haley, who he can't say by name now because he just shit on her and said, she's a politician. What does she know? That's the only fucking person that, like, speaks on abortion in a way that, like, makes sense.
Other than certain parts of the country, you're not going to win on this issue, but you will win on this issue.
There's maybe one part of the country where it could work, and it's not Florida. Like, maybe like Alabama or something, or Mississippi. Like one of those fucking places. I haven't looked at each individual state. No, not in Oklahoma. No, not in Utah. No, I'm telling you, dude. No shot. You guys are, dude. You don't understand. Republican motherfuckers have affairs out of marriage. They swing like in fucking Utah. People get abortions. Not in West Virginia. No shot. There are very few places. There are very few places in the United States of America. Okay? There are very few places in the United States of America where, like, abortion is contentious. For the record, you're saying views on abortion by most state. I don't know which, I don't know when this take is from. Okay. But yeah, Alabama, it says 37% legal in all most cases, 58% illegal in all or most cases. And then what? Fucking 4% don't know. In most states, like in Kentucky, there you go. Great fucking question. Kentucky said 36% legal in all or most cases. 57% said illegal in all or most cases. Except this poll is not correct. You want to know why it's not correct? Because we had a fucking poll, a ballot measure in the state of Kentucky where abortion protections won. Do you see what I'm saying? They voted in the exact same way that everyone in America has voted. In fucking Kentucky, 70-30 breakdown. Yeah. Even here in Alabama, it's not all pro-life, anti-choice like you would assume. If you ask them on specifics, they usually believe in some sort of legality on abortion. Not a total ban like our state has. It's honestly more 50-50 here if you talk to people. That's what I mean. And the state's poised to put new restrictions on abortion. People tend to say that abortion should be mostly or fully illegal based on New York Times analysis of large national surveys taken over the last decade. Okay, a lot of these are still old-ass polls, man. They haven't done it recently. There's no fucking shot. Oh, Louisiana, mostly legal, 36%. Net support, minus 23 for a trigger ban. Yes. Arkansas, minus 19. Maybe they shouldn't have polled this shit to get owned by voting. Well, actually, I guess, like, they did poll these, and it doesn't even fucking matter because these people were so stupid. And that's why they put this on the ballot in a lot of places where they realized, oh shit, this actually is not working out at all. There's not a single state where the support on a federal ban of abortion. I mean, this is from Data for Progress, to be fair. New polling in Alabama shows primary voters split on abortion Roe v. Wade from 2022. In Alabama, a plurality, 48% of voters say the Alabama legislature should make abortion harder to access, which doesn't mean full-blown fucking criminalization. 28% say lawmakers should make it easier to access, and 24% say lawmakers should not pass abortion laws. Even in bumfuck fucking Alabama, it's like, that is where it's actually contentious, I guess. It's nuts. An issue that is actually fucking contentious would be like 90% approval in Alabama and 50-50 in other places. Or, no approval in California, full approval in Alabama. Not 50-50 in certain places and like 60-40 to 70-30 everywhere else. That's why red states, okay, are literally doing the most, the absolute most. Like in Ohio, no on issue 1 was exactly what I was thinking of. So Ohio recognized, oh fuck, putting abortion on a ballot as a ballot measure is going to drive an insane amount of people to go out and vote. an insane amount of people to go out and vote against us. Okay? Like, the abortion further criminalizing, you interpret polls in a very uneducated way, says Huge Johnson, BBC. Once again, I hate Trump, but how many polls had him winning? People that participate in polls want to be in polls. I love that. Thank you, Huge Johnson, BBC. Please give me your educated perspective on polls, Huge Johnson, BBC. Huge Johnson, BBC, the type of motherfucker to be like, this poll only sampled 3,000 people, so clearly it didn't sample every single person. It's a bad poll. Anyway, yeah, issue 1 in a red state like Ohio passed with around 60% approval, a 60% supermajority. Or, sorry, the 60% supermajority was the constitutional amendment thing, okay? But it did pass with 60% approval. That's a red state. And this wasn't even just on abortion. This was actually an issue. Okay, Ohio's not really a red state. It's a swing state. Suck my dick. Ohio, the Ohio Republican Party recognized that if they put abortion as a ballot measure in Ohio in the upcoming elections, that they're going to get fucking cooked. Okay? So, instead of like having a special election on, specifically the abortion thing, they decided to secretly make it harder to put ballot provisions on elections. Okay? This was called Issue 1, where the defeat on Issue 1 on Tuesday keeps place a simple majority threshold for passing future constitutional amendments rather than the 60% supermajority that was proposed. Its supporters said the higher bar would protect the state's foundational document from outside interest groups. That's how they sold it. The real reason why they did this is because they wanted to make it as hard as possible to impose any constitutional amendments surrounding abortion, because abortion was going to be on the ballot as a constitutional amendment. Okay? Why did they not want this? Because they know that they were going to lose, and they are most likely going to lose on this issue especially, and that abortion being on the fucking ballot gets more people on the Democratic side to go out and vote than the Republican side. And that's how you lose a fucking election, because when they go to protect abortion and vote to protect abortion, because Americans love voting on ballot measures, they end up voting blue up and down the ticket. And then, it makes it much harder for Republicans to control the state of Ohio. So they tried to stop that from even being on the ballot by trying to implement this. And even that, which wasn't directly on abortion, but fought on abortion boundaries, got 60% support. Okay? 60%. So, yeah, Americans are definitely very aware of abortion rights being taken away from them and are not very happy about it. There are a lot of people who vote Republican up and down the ticket and still want to be able to have abortions. There's a lot of people who think, like, it's not up to me. Why should it be up to me? I should have no say on this. The government should not interfere in my affairs. Okay? Not a contentious issue.
When you come up with the right number of weeks, because Democrats don't want to be radical on the issue. Most of them, some do. They don't want to be radical on the issue. They don't want to kill a baby in the 7th month or the 9th month or after birth. And they're allowed to do that, and you can't do that.
I have a very robust foreign policy section to get to.
Okay.
I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your legal challenges. So if we could do that first, and then we'll move on to foreign policy. You are facing 4 indictments.
Biden indictment.
Yeah, look at this. Legal under any circumstance, 34%. Legal under certain circumstances, 51%. Illegal in all circumstances, 13%. 13%. Alabama's abortion provisions are tailored towards the 13% of the population. Okay? Legal under any, 34. Legal under most, 13. Legal in only a few, 36. Illegal in all, 13%. Most Americans oppose the Dobbs decision. In line with Americans wanting abortion to be legal to some degree, 61% currently say that overturning Roe v. Wade was a bad thing, while 38% call it a good thing. Those views are similar to what Gallup measured in 2022 when asking about Roe hypothetically being overturned, as well as more than 30 years of trends showing opposition to overturning Roe. Anyway. Now, the irony here, of course, is that it's very stupid to have this conversation because we're not even having a conversation about the morality of the situation. Because the morality of the situation dictates that regardless of what the fuck people have to say about abortion, that this decision should be left to a doctor and the carrier. Okay? Not a doctor, carrier, and the fucking mayor. Not a doctor, the carrier, and, Donald Trump. Not a doctor, the woman, and, your pastor. No, just a doctor and a woman. Mother equals carrier. Yeah, you fucking absolute baboon. Of course, I'm not saying mother and I'm saying carrier. Because you want to know what happens? What should have happened to you, for example? You should have been aborted, okay? Therefore, your mom would not have been a mom, but simply a fucking carrier. We know you said it like 3 times just now. You conveniently don't mention that most voters don't want unrestricted abortion laws. You conveniently don't mention that most voters don't want unrestricted abortion laws. Most Americans want some restrictions, especially in late-term pregnancies. Hey, jackass. I don't give a fuck. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, yes, if you want to stop abortions from happening in the 3rd trimester, okay, fine. Go ahead. Except you're only stopping people from being able to get this as a medical process when they most likely wanted to carry the pregnancy to term. The only thing you're punishing is people who wanted to have a child, okay?
Biden political indictments. He said to the Attorney General,
he's had nothing to do with it.
He said to the Attorney General, indict him. They put in the New York DA case, which everybody admits isn't even a case.
Mr. President.
They're Biden
there's
indictments.
No proof of that.
You know what? He started something that's a very slippery slope. He said, I've got a guy that's beating me in the polls. I'm beating all the Republicans by a lot, and I'm beating him by a lot. I have somebody that's beating me in the polls. Indict him. And they, not only that, they took their top person in the Department of Justice and put him into the Manhattan DA's office. They're dealing with Fannie Willis all the time.
Mr. President, the Attorney General appointed a special counsel to investigate you, President Biden, and President Biden's son, Hunter, who was also indicted today. But I do want to move...
President Biden does not fall within the Presidential Records Act. And frankly, you don't ever hear anything about the special counsel. But they gave me this deranged person named Jack Smith. He's a deranged lunatic. I fall within the Presidential Records Act. It's very simple. It's a civil thing. In fact,
Well, if women are getting abortions in the 3rd trimester, there needs to be a mental therapist involved. Yeah. No, you can't. You've clearly never been through the process of getting an abortion. Trust me, they force you to think about it a lot. If it's in the 3rd trimester, it's not about a psych evaluation. It's about physical necessity. No, there are instances where there's like less than 100 instances where people have gotten abortions when it's not like directly a physical need, okay? Like it's not an ectopic pregnancy. It's not a pregnancy where like the fetus is not viable outside of the womb, is like choked out in the fucking umbilical cord or whatever, and they couldn't save it. Okay? In that situation, the justification for it is a psychiatric evaluation, as far as I understand it. Okay? But again, we're talking about literally like 20 individual actions, okay? It's fucking ridiculous. 1% of abortions happen in the 3rd trimester, and the number of how many abortions that happen in the 3rd trimester are not directly necessary medical interventions because the fetus is non-viable outside of the fucking womb is so marginal that it's very stupid.
The New York Times, of all institutions, did a story, and it was headlined, "Please, please, please, Mr. President, could we take a look at the documents?" And they said in the story that the only way you can get